Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 22nd. Well, we got the fill back of the positive extreme as we dipped right down. We can put the numbers up here. The low was 92.50. We ended up at 93. So within 2 ticks, which is well within that 80% number we looked for. And we had talked about this, that we were moving close to breaking into a new zone, and we in fact did with the red DOC minus 7.2, which puts us above the negative 7.5. Orange coming up here, so the potential of this cross that we talked about where steel dips below potentially is a problem, but still have green above red and rising shakeout. So it's staving it off for now. But we're still caught within this general range. We are above that 29.23, so that was kind of important because getting up to the 32 puts us right again up against that 61%, which we've hit now for 3 times. So it really needs to begin that breakout through it. Otherwise, we're just going to get trapped within the same configuration because this is kind of flattening out. So it's going to be kind of an interesting pivotal Friday as to whether or not that can continue to move. The NQ, of course, we talked about it being stronger in general, and it's proving it as well because it's getting close to the peak of the previous rises right here, and a little bit closer to that steel crossover coming below, and not as strong though from a DOC red green combination because the green is actually below red at this particular point at 589. So that's something to watch. So when you get that kind of mix of the markets, we kind of get a little concerned that you're not going to get the follow through that you might expect. But continued strong showing through the S&P could help the Nasdaq, or vice versa if the Nasdaq makes its move. That may be enough to support the S&P or the ES as we look at it, going forward. So at this point, the euro, well, it's hard to give positive aspects to the euro, but it's holding on. So from that standpoint, with as weak as this is, you're getting enough big support in there to hold at least the line. We'll see if they're able to continue to do it because the same pressures that exist to the downside for the euro have not changed. Oil, likewise, it's been stuck in this range, which is just a status quo until there's some indication that the significant slowdown is going to create a glut, and or you don't have the consumption necessary to justify where it's at, in which case that it might see a little bit further decay. Gold, from its standpoint, is just holding on to this island pop that it created right here. It's been in a small DOC spread, but the red has still maintained right around the zero level. It just went slightly negative now, which is why you see this kind of mix between green red setup. But you do have steel from well underneath. Won't take much to produce buy configuration within that construct. If we go to the left side here, the 5K chart, we talked about this one in the video report where you meet but don't quite get the green crossing over when you have this move in the cyan. But what happened when that broke down, you end up getting much stronger presence of exactly what we look for. So the crossover of that yellow shakeout line above the magenta, more than enough to clear the distance. At the same time, you're getting steel above 13.5, the orange dip below, green is already above. And even if you wanted to wait from that 23, the very next bar, you already have green over cyan. Something that didn't happen here. That was the go sign for that, and you can see what it did. I mean, it was just a massive rise. And from that point, even when you get the DOC spread right here, you're well above 5 on the DOC red, and so it's still even above 0. So it's not until it breaks down below 0 do you see the red, the magenta line pop in there. It doesn't really drop all that much because you have significant steel coming from below, and that just produces the pent-up buy capability, and that leads to a little turnaround, and then we just get into kind of a muck situation, but still unable to really produce anything strong until we got later in the day. We ended up getting a strong crossover and a shakeout moved solid back above zero right over here. And then once we get to 50%, it was pretty clean from that standpoint. And now you even have cyan under red as we break out into this new peak. So good stuff from that standpoint. Just took a lot of back and forth once you get this huge move, but more likely than not, when you get these kind of early big moves, they tend to hold out throughout the day. You get a small fill back in some of the positive extremes, which we did. Those were like right back here. And you can see the lows corresponded with that when it filled it back in. So took care of that setup so it doesn't put that much pressure on it. And leaves it free. But again, now we have the same situation where we're looking back at the 23 as a bottom side for a retrace situation. And then, well, it looks like we're creating new positive extremes right now, which could be the 29-30 range. And then holding above those will become new levels. So easy peasy, as they say. Just gives us clear benchmarks and makes it simple to follow through. So this was kind of boring because most of the action took place early on. Didn't really get a whole lot of movement through the rest of it until this later part when we started to get a move to the upside again. As always, though, if I get anything interesting, I will certainly put it up for you. But I thought this was a good one to cover the difference between that green crossing the cyan off of the extreme move of the steel coming above the 13.5. So it really kind of clearly showed the difference between those kind of setups, even though technically you might look like you're getting the same situation, but you have far more power in the extreme move. So it worked out well to be able to show that at consecutive timing. As always, trade well. We'll talk again later.